Chapter 9 of The Cruise of the Snark. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Brian Ness. The Cruise of the Snark by Jack London. Chapter 9. A Pacific Traverse. Sandwich Islands to Tahiti. There is great difficulty in making this passage across the trades. The whalers and all others speak with great doubt of fetching Tahiti from the Sandwich Islands. Captain Bruce says that a vessel should keep to the northward until she gets a start of wind before bearing for her destination. In his passage between them, in November 1837, he had no variables near the line in coming south, and never could make easting on either tack, though he endeavored by every means to do so. So say the sailing directions for the South Pacific Ocean, and that is all they say. There's not a word more to help the weary voyager in making this long traverse, nor is there any word at all concerning the passage from Hawaii to the Marquesas, which lie some 800 miles to the southeast of Tahiti, and which are the more difficult to reach by just that much. The reason for the lack of directions is, I imagine, that no voyager is supposed to make himself weary by attempting so impossible a traverse. But the impossible did not deter the Snark, principally because of the fact that we did not read that particular little paragraph in the sailing directions until after we had started. We sailed from Hilo, Hawaii, on October 7, and arrived at Nuka Hiva in the Marquesas on December 6. The distance was 2,000 miles as the crow flies, while we actually traveled at least 4,000 miles to accomplish it, thus proving for once and forever that the shortest distance between 2 points is not always a straight line. Had we headed directly for the Marquesas, we might have traveled 5,000 or 6,000 miles. Upon one thing we were resolved: we would not cross the line west of 130° west longitude. For here was the problem. To cross the line to the west of that point, if the southeast trade winds were well around to the southeast, would throw us so far to leeward of the Marquesas that a head beat would be maddeningly impossible. Also, we had to remember the equatorial current, which moves west at a rate of anywhere from 12 to 75 miles a day. A pretty pickle, indeed, to be to leeward of our destination with such a current in our teeth. No, not a minute nor a second west of 130° west longitude would we cross the line. But since the southeast trade winds were to be expected 5 or 6 degrees north of the line, which, if they were well around to the southeast or south-southeast, would necessitate our sliding off toward south-southwest, we should have to hold to the eastward, north of the line and north of the southeast trades, until we gained at least 128° west longitude. I have forgotten to mention that the 70-horsepower gasoline engine, as usual, was not working, and that we could depend upon wind alone. Neither was the launch engine working. And while I am about it, I may as well confess that the 5 horsepower which ran the lights, fans, and pumps was also on the sick list. A striking title for a book haunts me, waking and sleeping. I should like to write the book some day and call it Around the World with 3 Gasoline Engines and a Wife. But I am afraid I shall not write it, for fear of hurting the feelings of some of the young gentlemen of San Francisco, Honolulu, and Hilo, who learned their trades at the expense of the Snark's engines. It looked easy on paper. Here was Hilo, and there was our objective, 128° west longitude. With the northeast trade blowing, we could travel a straight line between the 2 points and even slack our sheets off a goodly bit. But one of the chief troubles with the trades is that one never knows just where he will pick them up and just in what direction they will be blowing. We picked up the northeast trade right outside of Hilo Harbor, but the miserable breeze was away around into the east. Then there was the north equatorial current setting westward like a mighty river. Furthermore, a small boat, by the wind and bucking into a big head sea, does not work to advantage. She jogs up and down and gets nowhere. Her sails are full and straining. Every little while she presses her lee rail under. She flounders and bumps and splashes, and that is all. Whenever she begins to gather way, she runs kerchug into a big mountain of water and is brought to a standstill. So with the Snark, the resultant of her smallness, of the trade around into the east, and of the strong equatorial current, was a long sag south. Oh, she did not go quite south, but the easting she made was distressing. On October 11 she made 40 miles easting, October 12 15 miles, October 13 no easting, October 14 30 miles, October 15 23 miles, October 16 11 miles, and on October 17 she actually went to the westward 4 miles. Thus, in a week she made 115 miles easting, which was equivalent to 16 miles a day. But between the longitude of Hilo and 128 degrees west longitude is a difference of 27 degrees, or roughly 1,600 miles. At 16 miles a day, 100 days would be required to accomplish this distance. And even then our objective, 128 degrees west longitude, was 5 degrees north of the line, while Nuka Hiva in the Marquesas lay 9 degrees south of the line and 12 degrees to the west. There remained only one thing to do, to work south out of the trade and into the variables. It is true that Captain Bruce found no variables on his traverse, and that he never could make easting on either tack. It was the variables or nothing with us, and we prayed for better luck than he had had. The variables constitute the belt of ocean lying between the trades and the doldrums, and are conjectured to be the draughts of heated air which rise in the doldrums, flow high in the air counter to the trades, and gradually sink down till they fan the surface of the ocean where they are found. And they are found where they are found, for they are wedged between the trades and the doldrums, which same shift their territory from day to day and month to month. We found the variables in 11 degrees north latitude, and 11 degrees north latitude we hugged jealously. To the south lay the doldrums. To the north lay the northeast trade that refused to blow from the northeast. The days came and went, and always they found the Snark somewhere near the 11th parallel. The variables were truly variable. A light headwind would die away and leave us rolling in a calm for 48 hours. Then a light headwind would spring up, blow for 3 hours, and leave us rolling in another calm for 48 hours. Then, hurrah, the wind would come out of the west, fresh, beautifully fresh, and send the Snark along wing and wing, her wake bubbling, the log line straight astern. At the end of a half an hour, while we were preparing to set the spinnaker, with a few sickly gasps the wind would die away. And so it went. We wagered optimistically on every favorable fan of air that lasted over 5 minutes, but it never did any good. The fans faded out just the same. But there were exceptions. In the variables, if you wait long enough, something is bound to happen, and we were so plentifully stocked with food and water that we could afford to wait. On October 26 we actually made 103 miles of easting, and we talked about it for days afterwards. Once we caught a moderate gale from the south, which blew itself out in 8 hours, but it helped us to 71 miles of easting in that particular 24 hours. And then, just as it was expiring, the wind came straight out from the north, the directly opposite quarter, and fanned us along over another degree of easting. In years and years no sailing vessel has attempted this traverse, and we found ourselves in the midst of one of the loneliest of the Pacific solitudes. In the 60 days we were crossing it we sighted no sail, lifted no steamer's smoke above the horizon. A disabled vessel could drift in this deserted expanse for a dozen generations, and there would be no rescue. The only chance of rescue would be from a vessel like the Snark, and the Snark happened to be there principally because of the fact that the traverse had been begun before the particular paragraph in the sailing directions had been read. Standing upright on deck, a straight line drawn from the eye to the horizon would measure 3 miles and a half. Thus 7 miles was the diameter of the circle of the sea in which we had our center. Since we remained always in the center, and since we constantly were moving in some direction, we looked upon many circles. But all circles looked alike. No tufted islets.